Let me start with something that will become relevant. Okay. Ernest Hemingway once got into a drinking contest with his writing buddies, as opposed to getting into a drinking contest with everybody else in the world. And they had a competition to see who could come up with a story in the fewest possible words. Hemingway won with 6 words. Okay? This is relevant because when we're talking about marketing a candidate, we're selling a story. We're telling their biography. We're selling a story instead of a Wikipedia page. Hemingway won with 6 words. Okay? The 6-word complete story was, for sale, baby's shoes never worn. 6 words, total story. Yeah, because it's running in your head. Yeah. We're not going to be Hemingway. We're not going to win the Nobel Prize for Literature, but we can do our best to encompass a candidate's life in as few words as possible. And that's how we sell them. Okay? So what I want to whiz you through, I'm not sure I'll cover it all. What I don't cover, I'll come back to next week, because we've spent a few weeks going through, in fact, we've spent, since we started, going through technique and strategy. The rest of our time together, to the end of, probably the end of July, is really tactical, how do I, nuts and bolts stuff. Okay? So this session is about how to market candidates. The next session is about how to target and win clients, prospects. Okay? Then I'll go on to how to make the most money out of them. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you context for this. And the context come from what I was chatting about with James earlier on this morning, actually, which is in recruitment, if you get decent placements, executive search, if you get a decent placement, you'll get a few grand from it. It's not like we're doing high street recruitment, making a few £100 here and there. Yeah? And I genuinely believe that anybody who puts out a few candidates should be hitting 150 without a lot of skill or talent or strategy or anything else. You just put one foot in front of the other, you can hit 150. Okay? If you're not there yet, trust me, it's easily doable. I genuinely believe that most people can hit 250 without any kind of strategy, without any kind of real thought or process. But they probably, A, can't get beyond it, and B, can't do it consistently. And I just want to give you 2 contexts for this. Okay? This is not in any way me bragging or blowing my own trumpet or anything else, because you wouldn't be interested and I don't need to. Okay? I started end of February, or restarted end of February. My partner is doing a gangbusters job because she's growing the recruitment business full stop. For me, it's cash flow, because I want to grow the academy. So since started end of February, March, I blanked, April, May, June, I've done 2 placements a month. I'm averaging, it sort of varies between 12 and 18 grand. So I'm coming in about 15 grand a pop on average. So I'm doing about 30 grand a month on 12 hours a week. Literally, that's it, 12 hours. The rest of it is automated. All I'm doing in those 12 hours is pre-qualifying candidates and qualifying candidates and following up on my e-shots. I've pretty much got the interview setup, interview brief, debrief. Most of that I've either got automated or I've got it down to really quite tight conversations. So I'm doing a couple of placements a month and 12 hours a week. And that's simply by doing what I'm about to show you. Okay? Oh yeah, it's all right for you. You're old and you've been doing this for donkey's years. Both of those things are true. But chatting with, I think you may have, if you've been on the coaching calls, you may have seen my former colleague Prina on there occasionally. Prina was my lead consultant in my old firm. And she basically didn't fancy working with the new owners. She went off and did her own thing. Okay? Same niche as I was working in, went off and did her thing. And she's following this system. Okay? First year, she was working on her own. Okay? She landed one client that wanted to grow like absolute weed. And she was so successful with them, they were paying her so much money that they actually brought her inside as internal TA, which doesn't sound very interesting, but they gave her points in the business. Okay? They're floating next year. Okay? So what I'm about to tell you is in addition to learning how to be an HR director. Okay? Her official title is HR director, but 90% of her job is recruitment. In 3 years, she's recruited 134 account executives. Average fee for those will be about the same as mine. It'll be about 15 to 20 grand. So 134 people over 3 years at those fees. If you work it out, if she was a billing consultant, she'd be doing just under 725 grand a year whilst having a day job. So the biggest challenge, I was talking about this with James, the biggest challenge I have is that most people can't quite get their heads around what's possible. We get a certain level of income. We get a certain level of success. And it's comfy. It's nice, it's comfortable. You know, we can have the holidays, we can buy the shoes, we can do whatever's, yeah? But moving up a stage always implies two things: doing stuff different and admitting that you're not God's gift. And both of those things suck, frankly, when you come to do them. So just being willing to go, okay, maybe there's another level. That's the biggest challenge in my job, is getting people who are making a nice living, who are doing okay. And you can hit that 250 mark just by being busy. You'd have to have the right niche, you'd have to do it scientifically, you'd have to have a great process. You just have to speak to a lot of people and you can do 250. And as some of your former colleagues have experienced, you can be in this market one month and that market the next and the other market. Try doing that consistently. Try doing that to get to 500,000. Ain't happening. Okay? One particular former colleague of yours that a few people have referenced last time I was in, yeah, they did perfectly decent business by doing this bit. But they ain't going to do it long term and they ain't going to grow. They've hit their limit unless they change how they work dramatically. Okay? So that's the setup. All right? And if you're not doing 150, 250 consistently, trust me, we'll go straight past that and get to the good bit. Okay? 250 is not the target, 250 is your floor. And then we'll go on and do the good stuff. Right? So, let me whiz you through this really quickly. Firstly, I've got 2 questions for you. And brought my own pens. Two questions. What is your niche and what is your target prospect? If you haven't got those 2 things nailed, it's really difficult to do an e-shot because you don't know who your candidate is and you don't know who you should sell them to. Pretty obvious. Okay? So let's have a whiz around. What's your niche? Who's your target prospect? Who's your target customer? Joe, do you want to go first?
Currently, environmental testing, United States,
Okay. Okay.
Consumer product testing. The prospect as in the candidate.
No. Who you're selling to? Who's paying your fee? Okay.
CROs and CEOs and obviously for industry, director level, sales, ops, HR.
Cool. You used to have an amazing friend, she's Queenie May. She was a GP and she owned a search firm. She was unspeakable. She was just a monster, Malaysian woman. Fantastic. She was doing product development, so researchers in pharma. And it was just astonishing to watch her work because she didn't look like she was doing anything. And then she was an invoice, and then she didn't look like she was doing anything. And then there was an invoice, and then that name as well, Quee Me. It's just like, really? Wow. No? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mace, I don't know if we can hear you, but what would you say? Niche and target prospects.
UX, product assurance, and then anything about director.
Okay. Who are you selling to? Who are you selling your candidates to?
Anyone about director.
Okay. Exactly what I thought. I wouldn't regard either of those as either niches or target prospects. Okay? And I'll show you why in a second. Okay. Here's what we have to do. Here's the sequence of an e-shot in my world. Okay? Get that out of the way. You've got to know your niche. You've got to know what makes a candidate really desirable. There's no point e-shotting a candidate who's going to make people go, eh. Because if they go meh about your candidate, what do they assume is true of you? Your candidates are meh, you're probably meh. You've got to qualify your candidate to make sure that they're highly desirable once you know what it is. You've got to target your prospects, craft the story, hence the Hemingway bit, market them, that's just the mechanics of e-shotting, okay? And then you've got to follow up. Because we had this session a few weeks ago where you send out 20 emails, you get 2 requests for interview. Most people go, yay, wave the knickers around the office and go, how amazing am I? Okay? Forgetting the fact that there's 18 people still to speak to. Because I'll reiterate this a few times, getting the interview request is quite nice. Yay, happy days. But it's actually not the objective. The objective is to open up conversations with everyone you've e-shotted. The conversations are the purpose, not the interview requests. Okay? If you get the right conversations, the interview requests will come, whether from this candidate or from future ones. Okay? In old-fashioned parlance, we don't do business cards anymore, but back in the olden days, your candidate was simply your business card. It was basically a brochure. It was, look how good I am. Look what I can potentially bring to you. Now let's talk. And because of the ease and power of the technology, we've kind of lost the point of it a little bit. Okay? Don't get me wrong. During my 12 hours a week, I love an e-shot about somebody. I get a couple of interview requests. I'm happy as a clam. Absolutely. But I still know I've got those other people who I've not spoken to, or who I have spoken to and I'm working a job order for, and this candidate hasn't hit the button. If I send out a candidate to an open job order and I don't immediately get an interview request, something's badly wrong, and it's normally badly wrong with my understanding of what the prospect is looking for. Does that make sense, guys? Fabulous. Okay, so this is what I regard as a niche. Okay, most of what you gave me was an industry. An industry is testing. An industry is pharmaceutical marketing or pharmaceutical development. An industry is whatever, or a sector is that. Okay. A niche is the job titles of the candidates that you are working with, it's the industry. The smaller the niche of the industry, the smaller the piece of the industry, the smaller the segment of the industry, the better. Most people just get a horrible sinking feeling of their belly if they think that their niche is a bit too small. Experience has taught me that I get a sinking feeling in my belly if the niche is too big. If your niche doesn't feel too small, it's probably too big. You can't speak to all the people in your niche over a reasonable period like a year. You can't contact all the people in your niche over a year, 18 months. Well, everybody else is just a distraction. There's a thing I will refer to in a minute called the dilution principle. Okay? You've all at some point made squash. Yeah? Orange squash, ribena, lime squash, whatever. Okay? The funniest things used to be when I used to do training in hotels, because there'd always be somebody who got the lime cordial, tipped it straight into their glass and went, "Wah!" Okay? It's bright green. Surely it's obvious it needs diluting. You get squash, you don't dilute it, it's like, that's when your niche is too small. You haven't got enough people to talk to. If you're going back to the same people again and again and again on a 3-month rinse and repeat cycle, it's too small. If you get the squash and you put just the right amount in, yummy, happy days, tastes lovely. Lemon barley water. Coming up for Wimbledon, happy days. You put too little in, you get a clear liquid and you can't taste anything. That's when your niche is too big. When you've got hundreds or thousands of candidates you can never get to. When you've got a few hundred prospect companies, you can never get around them all, let alone develop real, detailed, in-depth, profound knowledge of them. It's too big. Yeah? So that's a fundamental thing. I apply exactly the same rules, as you'll see in a minute, to my target prospects. I want job titles, I want a specification of their industry, and I want to know the geography. That's particularly important in my 12 hours a week world because it's all automated. Okay? So my initial candidate prospecting is automated through LinkedIn. My initial prospect marketing is automated through LinkedIn. Okay? I happen to be using Dripify. I'm happy to show you if you want to hang on after this session, I'll show you the actual campaign if you want. But it could be Source Whale or any of the other automations. Okay? So because I know job title, industry segment, and geography, I can just put those 3 things into a very simple, but actually I don't even need to do a Boolean search in LinkedIn. I can just use their filters and come up with a list of bullseye candidates and bullseye prospects, okay? Because my target prospect is CEO, sales director, separately, commercial insurance brokers, mainland United Kingdom. So I can find them by just doing a really simple search on LinkedIn.
How many target CEOs are there?
How many what?
How many target CEOs do you think?
What, for me? It's 600 and something. Yeah. A lot of those are too small for me to really get any long-term traction with them. But on an automated basis, if I got somebody like the small ones, I maybe get might do one placement a year. If I was growing my business to become Novo or part of Curve, I'd probably want something secondary or bigger, or I wouldn't work with the smaller ones. I just work with the bigger ones. At the top end, I've got people who take a couple of hundred of those candidates a year. That would be companies, I'm trying to think of names you'd know. You might know Towergate. commercial insurance broking, or Henderson's, or people like that. Willis. Those are big insurance brokers. They've got a few thousand people working for them. They might take a couple of hundred of those candidates a year. At the smaller end, they might take one a year, maybe one every couple of years. But because I'm doing an automated process, it doesn't really matter that much. Because with the way that I'm personally working, I don't care whether they do one a year or 20 a year, because that's not important for me. In Wendy's side of the business, where she's doing this as a long-term exercise, growing it as a business, possibly bringing consultants in, she's looking to win the big deals. And those ones I've spoken to you about over the previous months, those are feeding into Wendy's part of the business rather than mine. I'm the dilettante. On the other hand, I'm a dilettante who's building 300 odd grand a year. So that's the niche stuff. If you haven't got those three things, it's not a niche in my world. And you certainly can't leverage it. You certainly can't get incredibly efficient at it. Okay? To answer the implied question, by the way, I'd say about 100. If you've got smaller than 100 prospects, or smaller than 100 potential placements a year, yeah, it's too small. Because it won't just be you playing in that pond. There'll be other people nipping in and out.
Yeah, I'm just looking for e-shotting. So I feel like I'm hitting the same people a lot.
Yeah.
So I find like a highly desired candidate, they'll be applicable to a lot. Sometimes they're open to relocate.
Yeah.
So then I'm hitting them like,
Yeah. You've probably not got those three things nailed down, because if once you do, you probably find it opens out a lot. Okay, because there will be probably more than one job title. I'm just throwing a name out. Big customer in your niche. Abzena. Okay, how many employees?
400, 500.
400. Okay, there'll probably be a couple of job titles that you can sell into. There'll be a director of.
Yeah, so like VP of Ops and CEO and Chief Operating Officer, but I put them in the same e-shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's still three people. Yeah. The other thing to bear in mind is, and this again is something most people forget, if there's too many people, if there's so many people on the e-shot that you can't pick up the phone and call them all, send it to fewer people. I know. Yeah, shit. Fewer people? Yeah. Because if you can't get conversations with them, you're just relying on darts at the dartboard because you don't know if the candidate's highly desirable to Dick, Jane, or Spot until you've spoken to Dick, Jane, or Spot. You're just going, oh well, they're generically desirable. So you're relying on Dick, Jane, or Spot going, ooh, yeah, bullseye. But they might not, because they've got 101 other things that they're doing. They've got pressure, they've got internal recruitment teams, they've got PSLs they're working with. So to get past that, you've got to do something pretty spectacular with the candidate, or pretty unique, like get them on the phone and have a conversation with them. This making sense, guys? I know some of it is heresy. Yeah, send it out to fewer people. Yeah, absolutely. Like I'll have gone a bit quiet. If you watch any of my stuff on social media, you'll notice I've gone a bit quiet. That's because I'm in the process of completely rebooting all of my social media and all my marketing. My email list at the moment is about 5,200 people. Okay? But of that 5,200 people, about 800 of them are the owners of small recruitment firms. So simple thing there, 2 email streams. Yeah? I'm not going to send the same emails to an individual to try and get them to join the academy because of their own career development as I would to Joe to get the firm booked on. Yeah? It's exactly the same with working recruitment. Yeah? So if you have to keep hitting the same people, then you have to wonder, is it genuinely is, have I gone too niche? Very rarely happens, but if I've gone too niche. Okay. This is something that this is where most people start to go wrong. Okay? And I sound like I'm beating the shit out of people today. I'm not intending to. Okay? But this is where most people start to go wrong. Okay? What criteria will make somebody always want to meet, have a conversation with a candidate? Okay? It's likely to be a transformation that they've created. They came in, a few of you guys are working like divisional heads and things like that. Okay? It is not the size of the P&L that they are managing. That is not something that makes somebody highly desirable. What makes somebody highly desirable is they've grown the P&L by a factor of 5 in the last 2 years. That's desirable. Okay? When I was 29, I was running the whole of EMEA for Mizuno. I ran Iceland, Saudi Arabia, down to South Africa. Big chunk of the world for what was then the third biggest sports company in the world. We did tennis, we did golf, we had the entire Liverpool first team on our books, and it cost us 30 grand at the time. That's how old I am. And I had responsibility for a $980 million P&L at the age of 29. Okay, my actual disposable part of that 980 was about 120 grand. Okay, because the rest of it was product, and it was taken up with this and with that and the other. It was pre-allocated to these global deals. In practice, I had almost no responsibility for almost anything. Okay? And in my 18 months on board, I grew it from 980 to 985 million, which is why I'm not in the sports business anymore. Yeah? It was enough to get a good career as a consultant to Nike and things like that in a previous life, but not impressive. Wouldn't have made me a great candidate for anybody. It was, sounds like a big job. It was a big job, but yeah. So, change they've created. Okay, if I'd taken that 980 million P&L and taken it to 1.2 billion, that'd make me saleable. That would make me highly desirable. If I'd taken them into a whole new range of markets, so I'd taken them into a whole new range of products or sports, that would have made me desirable. That's all. If the market had shrunk by 10%, but I'd kept the revenue the same, that would have made me desirable. Okay? But it's almost never qualifications, experience, size of their existing role, number of employees, size of the P&L. All that tells you is what they're doing. It doesn't tell you anything about how good they are. That, give you an analogy, that's your Wikipedia page. It's factually accurate, but it's boring as hell, and it doesn't really motivate anyone to do anything. That is a really well-written biography. It tells you a story, and it makes you want to engage with that historical person. It interests you, it engages you. Most e-shots are not exciting, interesting biographies. They are Wikipedia pages. That's why they don't work. Okay? We're sending boring stuff about candidates who are meh to a miscellany of people who may or may not at some point potentially think about the possibility of being interested in someone in that role. Well, darts at the board, folks. That's why most e-shots don't work for most people. Okay? That. Okay? Now, how do you know what will make somebody always interested in seeing someone? Well, to a small degree, it's kind of logic and common sense. If you've got somebody who's dramatically grown a business in a stagnant industry, if you've got somebody, if you're doing product development, you've got somebody who's taken 3 new products to market, where the normal person in that job might do 1, yeah, you can kind of use a bit of common sense and go, okay, they'll probably float boats. But if you want to apply real science to it, speak to prospects. They will tell you what's exciting. And then you go off and find them and sell them to them. Basic market research. You don't launch a chocolate bar or a training shoe without speaking to someone who likes chocolate or goes running. You don't launch a 200 quid running shoe without finding out whether people actually like running in it. I speak as someone who was pretty much entirely responsible for shell suits. I apologise. Okay? Think about shell suits in the early 90s, these nylon. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that was me, because the Japanese liked them, and we went, yeah, okay, we'll sell them. Sorry about that. Okay. How do you qualify a candidate? And this is what the pre-qualification and the qualification call is about. This is what, if you remember a few weeks ago, we said, for bringing on my candidates, it's automated, okay? So I go to everybody who's got the right job title in the right industry in the right location, and I go out to them and say, hey, I'd love to have a 5-minute chat. I've got an idea I think you're interested in. I'd love to have a chat. When's a good time over the next 10 days? I don't care whether they're going to be a perfect candidate or a bit meh. I'll speak to anybody that's got those 3 criteria for 5 minutes. Because if they're crap, I find out why, and I find out how to narrow things down a bit. If they're amazing, I'll try and bring them on board and market them. And if they're okay, but they're not going to blow the doors off, they go into the database for me to market open job orders. But I only market the really, really good ones, because that's their purpose. Don't get me wrong, if I've got an amazing candidate, I'll market them. Yes, I will obviously sell them to existing job orders. Of course I will. That should be pushing on an open door. But I'll also use them to blow a few other doors open. Make sense? Not make sense? Yeah. Okay. Really simple. It's not to get immediate interviews. It's nice, but it is to get you something that goes, oh, yeah, hey, yeah, I saw your email the other week. Not quite right for us. Oh, God. What's your reaction to that from somebody? Oh, they look all right, but they're not quite right for us. What are you thinking when you hear that? Yeah, what would be right? To me, I literally hear a cash register going when I hear that statement from somebody, because now I find out what is right and I sell them that next time. And what I sell them next time might not, by the way, be a highly desirable candidate. What I sell them next time might be a meh candidate, but they're highly desirable to that one person. Yeah. In my market, in the commercial insurance broking market, there are certain niches which are really unappealing to most people, but if you find the right person, they love it. One of them is taxis. Insuring taxis, most commercial insurance brokers go, God no, like you're warding off a vampire. You can imagine how many insurance claims you get for insuring taxis. But for the 4, I think, brokers who really do like that market and who do make a lot of money off it, if I bring them a candidate who's experienced and got clients in the taxi market, they're in like Flynn. They love it. But is that taxi account executive a highly desirable candidate? Nah, they're not going to get me into 99.9% of my prospects. But with an open job order, I'll get an interview at least 9 times out of 10. That's why the e-shot is to get the conversation, not to get the interview. I'll take the interview, don't get me wrong. I'll make money off the e-shot, but that's not the big purpose of it. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so we've got we've pre-qualified the candidate, we've got them on board, we've got their permission to market. By the way, make sure you do that. You're going to be putting people's personal information out, even if it's anonymized. Make sure you've explicitly got their permission to market them into marketplace. Well, who are you selling them to? Existing job orders, Dream 100. Okay. If you've not really dived into the Dream 100, I should say, by the way, all of this is probably the first 10 lessons in straight line recruitment. So jump into the academy, go through the niching modules, go through the start of this. All of this is in there. Okay. But your Dream 100 is, who are those people? Who are those contacts in the companies that you would practically pay to have a great conversation with? Okay. Who has the potential to change your life, either as a customer or as a mentor or as an industry contact? Your Dream 100, okay? By definition, if you're trying to get into a stunning long-term contact who's an industry leader, you don't do that with a meh candidate. You do it with a heart stopper. You need a candidate who is an absolute heartbreaker. And by the way, they'll very rarely reply. But if you've put a couple of absolute monsters in front of them, they'll take the call. They've only planned to give you 30 seconds, but they'll take the call. Particularly if you've already done the Dream 100 process of connecting with them and commenting on their posts and doing other stuff as well. So you've got some name recognition. Okay. There's a little module in the straight line recruitment just called the Dream 100. Okay. And incidentally, if you don't know who your Dream 100 might be, 100 just a number. It could be 50. It could be 200. Doesn't really matter. Okay. It could be 10. Don't care. But if you don't know anyone, any names at that level that make you go, oh, I'd love to. Probably not the industry, the niche expert you think you are. So back in the day, one of our Dream 100 was Gary Goldsmith and Computer Futures. Okay. Because really simple reason, well, two reasons. The first is S3 Group is a whale. They are monstrously big. So if I can go in and get a training contract with S3 Group, I've got hundreds of people to work with. Hurrah! But the second is Gary Goldsmith is a big personality with a big name and everybody knew him. Okay? If you're not sure who he is, because it's not really relevant to you these days, Gary Goldsmith was the person who set up the contract division of S3. He retired when they floated. Actually, when he floated the second time he retired, I think, if I've got the history right. But he retired, now got a massive ass place in London, big place in Ibiza, uncle to Kate Middleton, future Queen of England. Thank you very much indeed. But Gary was one of our Dream 100. So our sales director had that as a project. And this was pre-social media really taking off, so he had to do it the hard way. He was hanging out at events that Gary Goldsmith was talking at. He was hanging out at events where the other directors of S3 were talking at, so that he could get to know them and get the introduction. It's just an example, not directly relevant to you guys, but it's an example. Okay. Now we're into the story. Okay. I'm going to go over this a bit quickly because I'm going to come back to a specific example. I'm going to get you guys to work one through with me. Okay. First thing, the subject line is the hook. Okay. It's not selling the candidate. It's selling the open. It's selling the click. Its sole purpose is to get them to open the flipping email. That's it. If it does anything else on top of that, okay, yay, hurrah. But that's it. Okay? By the way, open rates, your system recording open rates? Yeah? Yeah, it's, don't believe a word of it. It's a simple thing I'd say. If somebody's using an iPhone, if anybody has their email on their handheld device, Apple iOS, and I think the latest versions of Android, regard it as open when it's been pushed to their mobile device. So it could sit in their inbox unread for 6 months, but it would show up on your numbers as opened. Okay? So don't believe a word of it. I came across this last year when my open rates went from 21% to close to 80. Like, oh, yeah, I'm God, I'm amazing. But my sales figures didn't go up and my inquiries didn't go up. Well, that's odd. And then so I disappeared down the rabbit hole and found out what was actually going on. Yeah? iOS update. First paragraph. I always have this direct thing. Hi, Dick, Jane, or Spot. I'm conscious that we've not worked with XYZ company before, but I'm working with a candidate that I thought might add enormous value to X, Y, or Z corporation. Then into the bullet points. Okay? I'm not just going to launch in without acknowledging that I'm not on their PSL, I'm not an existing supplier. Yeah? Obviously, by the way, if I've got an existing job order, all the rules of the first paragraph change. I just refer back to the conversations and the first. Yes. Yeah. 5 or 6 bullet points. No more. Preferably 4, in fact, though that really would be Ernest Hemingway time. If you can get somebody's life and career into 4 bullet points, I'll tip my hat to you. But you don't go beyond 6 bullet points. There's a psychological reason for it. Okay? There's a psychological rule, the rule of 7, which stipulates that human beings of any gender can only concentrate on between 5 and 9 things at any given time. Which is why you're writing an email and you've got YouTube on in the background and you've got somebody talking to you and you're beginning to forget what you're thinking about, and then somebody interrupts you and you go, what? And it's all gone. You just forget what the hell was just happening. It's why sometimes you get in the car, you drive to work, you park up and you can't quite remember the drive. It's not just me at my age, is it? It's a human thing, yeah? It's not that you're unconscious, but actually it is. It's not that you're unsafe. There's some research that says you're more safe in that state than you are when you're wide awake, because your reflexes are faster. But whether or not, rule of 7, between 5 and 9 things at any given time. If you give somebody more than 7 things, they'll have to forget one of them to take the next one in. So give somebody 6 bullet points and they can handle it. Give them 7, they might be able to keep the whole story in their head. Give them 8, 9, or 10, and some stuff has been lost. And you can't guarantee which bits they are. Personal opinion is that sod's law will kick in and it's going to be the most important stuff, just because, you know. I'm not going to ask if that makes sense, because I don't care. It's just true. There's one other thing which I didn't put in here, but is true. The rule of primacy and recency. You ever had that thing where somebody does a post and they say, "Oh, this isn't in order of importance, or this isn't in some other order." Yeah? I'll tell you what, I bet you still view it that way. Whatever's at the top of a list is always seen as most important. Whatever's at the bottom of the list is always what you remember and act on or don't. So guess where your main selling points go? Top and bottom. Points 1 and 2, 5 and 6. If you've got some selling points that are meh, stick them in the middle of the list. And then at the bottom, I always have a call to action. The call to action is really simple. To discuss this more or arrange a meeting with them, email me by hitting reply or call me on my mobile number. That's it. That's my call to action. It's enough. If they're really interested, it's enough. If they're not really interested, what's the point of doing more? And again, dilution principle. If I put some massive ass bottom paragraph on, okay, and they take the trouble to read it, they've probably forgotten all the stuff that went before. I've shot myself in the foot. Yeah? Okay. The thing with the dilution principle is that it's like if you're negotiating. You've been negotiating with stuff. Yeah. Okay. Most people, and this is down to our educational system, there's a lot of really solid research that basically says the more educated you are, the more academic qualifications you have, the worse a negotiator you are. That's why Richard Branson is freaking awesome as a negotiator. Elon Musk is stunning as a negotiator. Most academics couldn't get their way out of this room. Yeah? Because Elon Musk and Richard Branson will say, this is the reason why I want that. Somebody goes, oh, you got any other reasons? Why does that mean you agree with the first one? They don't. They just give you one reason, maybe two, that are incredibly strong. They don't give you 17 bullshit things, because you have one or two that are really strong, you have 3 or 4 that are a bit iffy, and then you've got a whole dozen that are crap. And somebody only needs one reason to say no. In a negotiation, they need one weak point to undermine your entire argument. With an e-shot, they only need one uninteresting thing to decide, no, I'll have an easy life, thanks. I won't bother replying, can't be asked. Or no, I'm not going to talk to them because of that reason. If you don't give them a reason to say no, what do they have to say? Yes. I know that sounds simplistic. It's not. It's simple. Not the same thing. If you only give them reasons to say yes, and you never give them reasons to say no, can they say yeah? Can they say no? Of course they can. But you've made it a hell of a lot less likely. And that's the game. The awkward, messy bit that everybody asks out on and forgets. Follow it up. People who don't immediately respond, it's not that they're not interested. They're busy. They've got jobs to do. There is no such thing as a hiring manager. There are people who have a day job, quite often a massive ass day job. If you're going out to a chief exec or a VP of sales or a COO, they've got a massive ass day job. They're not a hiring manager. Okay? Hiring is just something they do alongside all the other stuff. Okay? In this room, Joe is not a hiring manager. Joe is somebody who hires, but he's got at least 2 day jobs that I know of. Yeah? So it's not that they're not interested, not that they're not going to respond at all. They just might need some more information. They might need a different type of candidate because, well, that looks absolutely fantastic marmalade, but I quite like honey. Yeah. So get the prospect on the phone. If you hadn't noticed it, by the way, get the prospect on the phone, build a job order, and get your terms of business signed. You want more money? Get people on the phone. You want better job orders? Get people on the phone. You want better candidates? Get people on the phone. I can make it more complicated. But with my automated system, where I'm doing a couple of placements a month, okay, I've got everything up to pre-qualification automated. Okay, my email system to do my e-shots, pretty much automated. I have to craft the bullet points, but most of it's pretty much automated, cut and paste. Okay, but then I'm picking up the phone within that 12 hours a week. How much time do you think is on the phone? Have a guess. I've got my call logs if you want to see them. How much time of that 12 hours a week I'm spending doing recruiting, how much of it is call time, actually speaking with people or trying to speak with people? Majority? Between 9 and 10 hours. Okay. So I'm spending between 75 and 80% of my time calling people or speaking with people. Put it another way, if you're doing 5 8-hour days, you're doing the usual 40-hour week. If you're not on the phone or trying to be on the phone 75% of that time, either your automation isn't working properly, or you're missing out on a whole bunch of opportunity and money. Yeah, I know that's the bit where I lose people. I just tell you facts. Up to you what you do with them. Okay. Please note, I'm not spending 9 hours a week talking to people. On a decent week, I'll probably spend 6 hours a week actually talking to people. Still 50% of my time. My connect time is about 50% of my time. How do you get that much connect time? Because I'm putting out really bloody good candidates. I'm sending out candidates that people want to talk about. Even if they don't want to interview that person, they want to know how the hell I found them. Quite often get asked that, where the hell did you find them from? Why are they in the market? They're not. They're perfectly happy with what they're doing. I came along and made them unhappy so that you can make them happy again. Oh, somebody was asking the other week, what's my sales pitch? There you go, that's my sales pitch. That's it. How else would you describe a headhunter's job? That's it. That's what we do. Right. That's that. Okay. We get into some nice, simple work-a-day example for you. Okay, I'm not going to refer to one of your examples because I want you to learn the technique. I don't want you to learn the process. I don't want you to learn how to apply it just to you. I want you to be able to apply it full stop. So, my niche, account execs, new business executives for commercial insurance brokers, not corporate insurance brokers. So I'm not working with the people who are insuring Novartis and AstraZeneca and Jaguar Land Rover. I'm not working with their insurance brokers. I'm working with commercial insurance brokers within the mainland UK, not Northern Ireland. Not that I object to Northern Ireland, it's just there aren't that many prospects over there. Highly desirable candidate criteria in my niche. New business exec, at least covering their salary with new business every year. The less support they need to do that, the better. So if they're getting leads from Lloyds Bank, yeah, they probably need to be doing 2 or 3 times their salary. If they've got all their appointments set up by an appointment setter, they need to be doing more than at least covering the salary. If they're cold calling, setting up their own appointments, and they can cover their salary in new business, yeah, they'll do. Okay. Why only covering their own salary? Why don't they need to be profitable? Because the average client in this market stays with their insurance broker between 5 and 6 years. So you don't need to make money year one because you'll make it the next 4 or 5 years. But look how exact that is. Okay? Account exec, their book is over their existing book is the clients that they're working, the renewals that they handle every year. Think about the way insurance works. Okay? So they have an existing book of business. We've got an existing client list that brings in at least £250,000 of profit, gross profit, per year. Ideally, it's a ratio of 5 to 1 with their salary. So if their income is 250 grand and they're paid 50, yeah, that's good. If their income is 250 grand and they're paid 90, not so much really. The return on investment doesn't make sense. Okay? The more loyal the clients are, the better. Reason being, they're working on the assumption that, well, if somebody's got £500,000 worth of business, a big chunk of it will come with them if they move jobs. Doesn't often turn out to be the case, but they always live in hope. They've been doing that same bullshit for the last 10 years I've been working with them. Yeah? We need a branch office within 50 miles for support. It used to be a lot smaller than that, but technology's moved on. But you need somebody who can go out and look at the factory or the office. You need somebody who can go face to face if there's a claim, that sort of stuff. That's very niche for my market. And do their customer type match the broker's portfolio? That's the thing I was mentioning about taxis, things like that. Almost everybody will happily take on a recruitment company as an insurance risk. Almost nobody wants something like taxis or dangerous chemicals or foodstuffs. There's claims all over the place. Yeah? Now, anything strike you about that set of criteria? There's a lot of figures in there, very precise about that. Yeah. I know that I'm looking for this. I know who to look for geography because that edits down who I can sell to. Okay? Because if the prospect doesn't have a branch within 50 miles of them, no point contacting them.
You've not spoken to pretty much every account exec?
God, no. No. 9,000. It's static 9,000 because there's people come and go. There's about 9,000. So it's my objective to speak to them all. I think when I was running my business previously, I think between me and my colleagues, we'd spoken to about 7,500 of the 9,000 that were live then. So that took us about 3 years, and it took a bunch of researchers to do it. It wasn't quick, but we had done it. A big part of why we sold out for a bigger multiple than we should have done is that one of our competitors bought us pretty much for the process and the database. So normally in recruitment you get 1 or 2 times, we got nearly 5. Okay. Right, I've told you who the clients are, I've told you who the candidate, sorry, told you who the highly desirable candidate is. I've told you who the target prospect is. Okay, this is a candidate. Okay. not going to read it to you. You can all read it. Okay. The subject line of a marketing email is designed to open the click. So what you're looking for is when somebody sees that subject line, they either go, WTH, what the hell? Or they go, ooh, click. So from all that, what do you think the subject line is? Their job title is account executive. Shitload of info on there. It's deliberate. 99% of it completely irrelevant. So what's the main points for you? What jumps? Yeah. 45 grand in new business compared to a salary of 70. Okay, so that's, as a new business exec, they suck. But somebody who's managing a list of clients and doing that, yeah, that's good. I like that one. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely relevant. That tells me who I should market to. Yeah, somebody who doesn't do property insurance, not going to be interested. Okay?
Ratio of 530 to 78.
Yeah, 530 to 78 is great. Okay. Largest client, 105k. So what? Yeah. What's the last 2 points? Yeah. And she retires in 5 years, and she's retiring. Here's the story, okay? For sale, children, baby's shoes, never worn, okay? Here's the story as I would sell it, okay? Got an account exec. She's managing 530 grand a year of existing business, okay? Those accounts have moved with her twice. She's 61 years old and she's retiring in 5 years. So bring the clients over with her and you keep them after she's retired. That's my story. The rest of it is wording. But that's my story. Okay? So put it a slightly different way. You take this person on, you spend 80 grand with them. Okay? They bring you £530,000 worth of business, and they've done it twice before. Their average client stays with them 8 years, but she's retiring in 5. You spend 80 grand a year, you get 530 grand a year, and it stays with you after she's left. You stop paying for it after 5 years, but you keep it anyway. How's that for a pitch? Yeah. But I've seen some of the e-shots you're sending out. Most people would have put this shit in. Yeah. We've got qualifications coming out. Oh, what's most important about your candidates? Oh, the qualifications. Who gives a shit? If somebody's a senior researcher in a pharmaceutical firm, you've kind of got to assume they've got some qualifications, they know what they're doing. Okay? You don't need to put that on the freaking profile. You don't need to know that she used to live in London. You don't need to know. It's kind of relevant that she lives in Filey, because most people haven't got offices that close on the East Coast. Actually, this is a real one, by the way. That reduced it down to about 10 prospects. Okay. Where's the property bit? Which is in property, I don't remember. Part of that is property, okay? That introduced 2 others who are national property firms who don't care where you live because it's property risks. As it happens, most of her clients are in Westminster. There's one particular very prosperous square in London where she's got 12 of the 16 houses. I say houses, big doodah mansions she's got. Yeah, she's got her ambition before she retires is to get them all. Yeah, it doesn't really. Yeah, that's relevant to a Towergate because they're a national firm. They need local offices. It's not relevant to a really specialist broker, which is who did offer acceptance last week with her. Yeah. What salary do you think she'd get offered, by the way? She interviews pretty well as well, by the way.
She's on 70.
She's on 70 plus 8.
That.
6% more.
She got offered 90 and 10% of the book. Yeah. I don't get the 10% of the book value, unfortunately, but she gets 10% of everything that transfers over for the first year it transfers. Okay. So 90k basic, that's my fee, happy days. 20% with them, I can live with it. Why is she so flipping valuable? Why would they bump her from 70 to 90? Why would they take her bonus from 8 potentially to 53? Because of the key things that we just talked about. £500,000 worth of existing business, that has followed her twice, and she's retiring in 5 years. Happy days. That's my pitch. I need to put some other stuff in there, like job title and geography, but that's just to flesh out the story a little bit. Okay? But that's my pitch. Those are my bullet points. Everything else, bullshit and interruption. Bullshit and distraction. Subject line, by the way, account exec, based in North Yorkshire, 530k book, that's moved with her twice. That's the subject line. Account exec, East Yorkshire, 530k book, that's moved with her twice. Yeah. You see 530k book, that's enough to make you want to see the rest of the subject line. Because they're interested in anyone more than 250. 530 is quite nice. 530 and it's moved with her twice. She's a unicorn. Yeah. I know that doesn't look like a unicorn. And it isn't for you. It's for me. Sometimes my subject lines are, I'll reverse it. So it'd be 530k book, moved with her twice, account exec, North Yorkshire. Yeah, I might reverse it. Depends on who I'm selling to or what it is. As it happens, the people who've just put the offer out, it was 530k property book, moved with her twice, North Yorkshire. That was the subject line because they're a property company. So 530k property. Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, that sort of meerkat thing is, ooh, ooh, ooh. What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? Ooh, ooh, yeah, got my attention. It went out as 5 bullet points. One of the bullet points was a bit longer than I'd like, but in an ideal world, it'd be 5 bullet points of no more than 10 words each. I try and get the entire email, including the opener and my sign-off, less than 150 words, if I can. Because you can take that in one glance. Boom. Now, I can only do that and I can only market it out because of all the other stuff I've done. Because I've done the niching. Because I know who I'm selling to. Okay? Because as well as my candidate sourcing being automated, so is my client sourcing. So I've done a list in LinkedIn, Chief Exec, Sales Director, Commercial Insurance Brokers, Mainland UK. Bosh. Do the list, spurts it out, get rid of any that I know don't want to talk to me. There's a couple of people I've got some history with, don't want to talk to them. you know who you are. But generally, I just run my automated connection sequence, send out the messages, automatically like some of their stuff. There we go. Then I can ping out the emails.
You always do a true set when it's a call.
Yeah, just to explain that, I just simply say, I know we've not worked together before. The reason I'm contacting you is because I've got somebody I think might add an awful lot of value to your firm. Yeah, I always do that because the first objection is oh, you're not a supplier.
Yeah,
I don't know you.
I don't do that. I just assume that, I'm currently working with this person.
Yeah.
Straight into it, but I might start trying to.
I just put that little one in because most people's immediate objection is, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
I've not worked with you before. I've got a PSL. I've got an internal TA team. Why should I talk to you? So I just knock the most common objection on the head right at the outset. Yeah. Kill the dragon when it's young and crack on. Yeah. But you're spot on, Joe. It's the little stuff like that. You're playing the percentages. With an e-shot, it's all about percentages. Anything you can do that gets rid of potential objections or adds a little bit more value, do it. If it's just dilution, get rid of it. If it makes your case stronger, include it. If it doesn't, never mention it again. Unless you'd specifically asked. What do you reckon? That was an open question, by the way. What do you reckon? You can't reply yes to it. What are your thoughts? Nathan, if Mason, sorry, if you're still there. No, he's gone to sleep.
Yeah, good, yeah.
What do you think about that, mate? How would you apply it?
Yeah, I'm gonna try it. I think to try as well, just to make sure to get on the phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get better at e-shots. I'm gonna try the sequence 100%, but I'll just stick to bullet points as well then.
Yeah.
And I normally like to tell a story, but I'll have to just try and keep it concise with bullet points.
Yeah.
Try and get on my phone at the end of it.
It's the bullet points. The Hemingway story got me because I'm actually think of myself as a writer, so I will happily do a 1,000-word web page, but I was actually going to need 20 and some good graphics and stuff. You know.
I've been telling you to do bullet points for the last 3 years, Mason. Have I not?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Listen to me.
In your defence, mate, 75 bullet points. You'd be better writing a story. 5 or 6 bullet points, that'll get the job done. But once you've got, and I've seen a couple go out which are like massive ass things, or paragraphs. Actually, the worst one I've seen is people who write the story, they write the narrative, and then they put bullet points on it. Yeah, put a bullet point on each paragraph. No,